Can we just check we're live, Joe, please?
Okay, welcome colleagues and residents of Thetford to our second virtual meeting of Thetford Town Council. As is customary with all our full councils, we always start with a 15-minute open public forum to questions. Joe, I'm sure you'll manage that on the feed, but in the meantime, while we're waiting for that, I did have an email question through from Councillor Stuart Terry. And to summarise the question, is there any support that is an offer from Thetford Town Council to support those people struggling during the current period? I'm aware that we've been working in partnership with organisations such as Keystone, and we've had staff supporting the vulnerable throughout the COVID situation. But Tina, I wanted at this stage I could just invite you to put some flesh on the skeletal information I've just provided.
Yes, so the Town Council has been working with by supporting community groups and support organisations within the town. And also we are part of the Breton Resilience Group that meets weekly, and we discuss the issues that are going on. And part of our role within that group was to facilitate getting resources, contacts, helping people with risk assessments, that sort of thing, so that we have been facilitating other organisations to support the residents. Staff have been doing social prescribing, delivery of emergency food parcels, and a couple of our councillors have been working as part of the befriending service that's been going on in the town as well. We have the grant scheme that has been given funding out to groups that are supporting the COVID-19 situation. So a lot of our work is signposting people and individuals and getting groups and people together so that support can be delivered. So that's pretty much what we're doing in a nutshell.
Thank you, Tina. For those colleagues that went in a tad earlier prior to the meeting starting, just to make you aware, a little bit of difficulty for myself chairing the meeting tonight because I can't access the chat facility. So Tina's going to help me if any hands go up. Tina, does anybody put their hands up wants to comment on that question?
Not at the moment, Mr. Mayor, but we'll give them a few moments.
Thank you. And Joe? Hello, Joe. Okay. Well, in light of that, then, if colleagues are in agreement, I'll actually move on to the actual formal agenda. So our first item is item 18520, which is a declaration of disclosable pecuniary interest. I'm happy for those to be noted now or to receive them as we actually meet the item. Do we have any disclosable pecuniary interest, please?
No.
I'm taking it again. There's no hands up, so I will move us swiftly on to item 18620, which is apologies for absence. Mr. Chris Crimmins, as secretary to the meeting. Do we have any apologies?
Yes, I've received apologies from councillors Hollis and Taylor.
Thank you, Chris. Right, moving swiftly on. Item 187/20 is to confirm the minutes of our full council meeting held on the 30th of June. We have page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, and page 6. Now move the minutes.
The minutes.
Thank you, colleagues.
Brilliant.
Thank you. Item 188/20 is to receive the committee reports. The first committee report we're going to receive this evening is from the ALT committee. I'll pass over to Councillor Jeremy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to present the unconfirmed minutes from the ALT meeting held on the 1st of July. There's no recommendations as it's all resolved business.
Thank you. Are you going to walk us through page by page, Councillor Jeremy, or are you just
Sorry, it's up to you, Mr. Mayor. Normally, the mayor takes us through each page, or I can. I don't mind which way.
I think people have enough of listening to myself, so they can listen to your dulcet tones.
I'll second that. Right. So, unfortunately, on my Word document, the pages aren't quite in order from the download, but we've got page 1, which is action points, small grants, countryside report. Page 2 is St Peter's, use of open spaces, facilities opening, and street furniture. And then the last page is correspondence up until exclusion of press and public.
Thank you. Tina, do we have anybody wishing to raise a comment on those minutes?
Not yet, Mr. Mayor, no.
Okay, would you like to move the minutes, Councillor Jeremy?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Move the minutes, please.
All those in favour, thank you very much, colleagues. It moves us swiftly on to the Personnel Committee, and I hand over to Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to present the minutes for personnel held on the 7th of July. There are no recommendations. Again, everything was resolved within the meeting. We did, the papers have been sent out if you'd like to go through them, and if there are any questions. Other than that, I would move the minutes.
Again, and I apologise for the lack of IT at my end, but I'm leaning on you heavily tonight, Tina. Do we have anybody wishing to comment?
No, not yet.
Marvellous, thank you. Are you happy to move the minutes, Councillor Brown?
Move the minutes.
Everyone in favour?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Roy.
Thank you.
That moves us on nicely to the Planning Committee, and I now hand over to Councillor Brindle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm pleased to present the unconfirmed minutes of the Planning Committee for the 14th of July. There is one recommendation, and if I may, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a comment at the end if and when we agree to the minutes. If I take you through, the screen I've got goes, thank you, the screen I've got is moving. For those relying on the screen, are there any comments, please, on items 118 to 121, starting, and then we go through 121. Any comments on the planning applications we considered? No, carry on, please. So 122, there is a recommendation, if we can pause there. The recommendation that Thetford Town Council adopt the Town Council's policy on planning issues. And then it says, see Appendix A attached with amendments highlighted in yellow. Well, we have got Appendix A. My copy has not got the items, the amendments highlighted in yellow. So I'm not quite sure what we do about that unless they've miraculously appeared. It's very hard for members who weren't present at the meeting to know which of the improvements. I'm now looking at a copy which has got the highlights in yellow. So thank you very much for that. That's great. I'm not sure how to do this, Mr. Mayor. The option is to run through it as we are doing and just ask people to stop and comment if they want to. Is that okay?
Absolutely, thank you.
I watched the video, Councillor Brindle, and actually I think you were very thorough in your discussion over the points. So I suspect that other councillors have had a quick peek at it. Councillor Dave Hodgkinson has his hands up.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. At the meeting, I asked if this policy could be numbered, and I think that was agreed. So I was half expecting that this would appear, or it would be referred back to the planning committee for a further look at. So I'm not quite sure what happened there.
If I can just comment on that, thank you very much for that, Dave. You did indeed agree, propose that. It was agreed, and I guess, can I say it's tactfully, it's still a work in progress. I think it was an excellent idea. It's much clearer if you can refer to the numbers of separate items. So I wonder whether, Chris, we can put numbering in the fullness of time, please.
Yes, I certainly will. I'll talk to the planning officer, and we'll do it between us.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
That's probably why it wasn't dealt with.
Hopefully Dave's happy with that.
Yeah, that's fine. Thanks.
Thanks, Dave. Are there any more comments, please, as we go through the appendix notes? That's it.
You can stop scrolling now.
We've got to the end, so unless there are any more comments from colleagues, may I ask colleagues to consider the recommendation and perhaps vote for it?
Thank you.
There are no further hands up.
Okay, so we have a recommendation to vote on, but just before we move to that, can I ask, I'm picking up sort of a background wind noise. I wonder if somebody's got their mic on and in an area that's maybe a little bit more public.
Probably me.
Are you outside, Dennis?
Sorry, I've done my mic so you won't hear that, okay?
Thank you, Dennis. Thank you. Okay. Sorry to interrupt you, Councillor Brindle.
Not at all. I think it was you who was suffering. We just got to a point where perhaps we should vote on the recommendation, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. There you go, Chris. Your first opportunity to use the poly system.
One moment.
Thank you.
We need a proposer and a seconder first, please.
Okay, my apologies. Can we have Mike? Can you outline what the recommendation is, please, so members of the public are fully aware?
What we did was we reviewed a document that was out of date and we brought it up to date. And that's the way in which the issues are what the planning committee is responsible for, what should be covered by planning within the set for town council's work.
Is that the actual recommendation, Mike?
The recommendation is that this council passes the new version of the document.
Thank you. I was just doing that for clarity for those that are watching us on stream.
The voting.
Could I just interrupt, please, because Councillor Barretto has her hand up.
Thank you. Carla?
Yes, hi everybody. Just to mention that my poly system is not fully working yet. I think I can vote on it. If not, I'll use the chat until I figure this out. I think there's an update needed on the tablet anyways. But I should be able to vote. I just won't be able to see the rest of the information anyways.
There's only 2 people vote now, so you should all vote if you can, please.
Well, as the town clerk's pointed out, we need a proposer and seconder.
I'm sorry. Carry on.
So can we have a...
Sorry to interrupt, because I'm not a bit green on this. Could I propose that the recommendation be accepted?
Thank you. Can I have a seconder, please?
I'm happy to second, Stuart.
Thank you, Councillor Burnett and Councillor Wright. Okay, now we move to the vote. All those in favour?
As I say favour.
I've got 10 votes at the moment.
How do I vote?
Colin, are you working on your town council tablet?
Yes.
Right, touch the bottom of the screen, and a
Well,
video will come up. Your video, and then at the top you'll see a little box, a voicey box. Push on that, and then it'll take you into chat.
Can't see that.
Right, it comes up very quick, so you have to tap quick.
Oh, I've disappeared there altogether.
Oh.
May I suggest it might be easier for for Councillor Billette to express his
Yes.
vote?
Oh,
Yes.
I'm in favour because I proposed it.
Thank you.
Good, thank
So
you.
I've got 11 votes. It's in favour. It's 8 votes for, 2 abstain, and 1 from Colin Burnett, which is 9. 9-2. So that's carried, Chair.
Thank you very much. You'd like to move the minutes, Mr. Councillor Brindle?
I'd like to move that. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favour?
Aye.
Agreed.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Agreed.
Thank you very much. That moves us on to the VIM committee now.
Mr. Mayor, forgive me for interrupting. I was hoping to be allowed to make a comment at the end, please.
Oh, Mike, I do apologise. I got so wrapped up in the vote, I forgot about you.
Not at all. It's a concern I have about a late planning application, which I've talked to a number of councils about, but haven't alerted perhaps everybody to it. Colleagues will be aware that the electricity supply for the new housing will have to run, as it were, diagonally across Thetford. It comes from Berry Road along Nuns Bridges Road, over the bridge, and then through the town, and eventually arrives at Norwich Road. The latest planning application, and this is why I'm warning you, is one that we've been asked to comment on by the 11th of August. And at the next meeting of the planning committee is later on the 11th of August. So there's no way that planning committee can make any comment. The reason why I think we ought to make comment is not to oppose the application, which is bound to go through in Breton Council, it must do, but to express great concern about the fact that in order to do this, it would appear that they need to dig up Nuns Bridges Road and probably Ford Street as well. If that's the case, we will have the spectre of Nuns Bridges being closed again. We know what chaos this caused the last time. There are only 2 north-south bridges in Thetford to get across the river. With one of them closed, all the traffic goes onto Berry Road, Brandon Road. So what I'm concerned about is any ideas colleagues have for mitigating the situation. At the very least, we need, I think, to be writing to Breton as a council, expressing great concern and saying, can they ensure that any work done is done in absolutely the minimum length of time so that the closure of the Nuns Bridges will be minimised. That's my concern, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, there's a hands up from Councillor James, and I have put in the chat that you can ask for an extension until the following morning after the meeting, and I'm happy to call them tomorrow to see if we can arrange that if you want me to.
Okay, well, I'll take Councillor James. I'll take Councillor James' comments, then I'd like to come in myself.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm sure Councillor Brindle recalls the conversations and the permission that this council actually gave to the engineers to do test pits to see if there was viability for drilling underneath the river and therefore underneath Nuns Bridges. They did explain how the works were going to be done in several of the meetings that we've had in them, and they've kept us well informed.
Can I come back on that, please, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, I'm just going to remind you, though, this is actually to agree the minutes, and I might have a suggestion for a way forward. So I'm keen to get on with the business of the agenda. Please do, Mike.
In that case, I suggest that we do as the town clerk suggested and leave any discussion until the 11th of August.
Okay, well, just as a concluding comment, I was going to ask the town clerk where it's feasible. As you're all aware, we have a special full council, which is a single item agenda on the 5th of August. I'm seeking to whether it's permissible that we add this as a second item to that special full council?
We have the time to amend that agenda within the timescales. I'm just looking now because that is on the, is it the
I believe it's the 5th.
5th? So if we put the amendment out tomorrow, that would be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Monday. Yeah, if we amend it today, then we've got time to amend that agenda and add it to it.
And would that be an acceptable way forward for colleagues?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Yes, it would. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. So, Councillor Brindle, would you like to move your minutes?
I'm pleased to move the minutes now. Thank you very much for your indulgence.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Thank you. We move on to the minutes of the VEM committee. Now, I was absent from this meeting. Normally it would be myself reporting, but I was absent from this meeting due to illness. So I'm going to pass over to the Vice Chair, Councillor Barretto.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I present the minutes for the meeting of the Variance Event and Marketing Committee on Wednesday, the 15th of July. So this would be, there is a recommendation on the minutes under point, let me trace, sorry, I'm using here 2 screens, so bear with me. So under point 133/20, which is that the VEM committee agreed to option 4, looking at venues and marketing, with a proviso that it will still meet for 10 meetings a year, and the town events are moved to a restructured civic committee if they're agreed on the August meeting. So that's a recommendation to be presented to this council and to be voted, which is the only recommendation on the minutes for this committee. So should we? Do you want to put this to discussion, Mr. Mayor, and make a vote on it before we agree the minutes, or would you like to do it differently, please?
I suspect this is going to draw comments anyway. We will need a proposer and a seconder.
Okay.
Poor old Tina, I'm going to ask you that. You're going to get sick of this question, Tina. Do we have any hands up in relation to that matter?
Yeah. Also, could I say that actually the recommendations for the committee structure are to go back to personnel first, and then what they're going to do is they're going to rewrite the whole thing for all of the committees and then present that to full council. So there will be an opportunity for councillors to engage in that when that comes back on the agenda for personnel as well.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
There is a hands up from Councillor James.
Thank you, Councillor James.
Unfortunately, the clerk said exactly what I wanted to say. We can't preempt a decision of the Civic Committee at this stage, and it's not a recommendation to full council at this point. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think that boxes that one off. Should we move on? Move on. Thank you, Carl.
That's quite all right. Thank you, everybody, for your input. Should we then move the minutes as they are and leave this item pending the decisions from the committees?
Would you like a proposal in a second? And I'll put a vote up on the screen as well.
Yeah.
No, Chris, no, because it's actually personnel that's addressing this matter across the council. So, yeah, the recommendation has been highlighted by both Councillor Jane and our clerk, Tina.
Thank you.
It's
could I just interrupt? Sorry, you may want to perhaps state in the minutes that in fact it is going to or put somewhere that the fact it is going to go to personnel first, so people reading it will know that that's what's actually going to happen.
Thank you.
That will have to be in the full council minutes, obviously, because we can't write something in the minutes that didn't happen at that meeting, but there'll have to be an explanation under this in the full council minutes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, should we then move the minutes as they are for the remaining items, Mr. Mayor?
If you're happy to take those forward, is everyone in agreement?
It's fine with me.
I can see at least one thumb. Claudius sprung to mind then. Thank you, Carla, for that. That moves us on to the allotment committee.
Cemetery first. Cemetery first, I think.
My apologies, Chris. Oh, I picked up the paper and took it with the other one. I do apologise. You're quite right. Cemetery committee. Over to you, Councillor Hodgkinson.
Thank you. Pleased to present the cemetery committee minutes for the 16th of July. And we have, I think, 4 pages that we can look through. There is an item that is marked 14620, which is marked as a recommendation. Well, I think personally, I think that should be a resolved matter. So I don't think we are needing to. Well, the Peace Comes to the Thetford project. We've already committed our support to it previously. This was just about how we're going to work with the group that are delivering that. So I don't think that's a recommendation. So hopefully the clerk agrees with me.
Yes, absolutely. Particularly as the fund is within your budget, lies within your budget. Isn't it? Yeah, that's absolutely fine. That can be resolved within committee.
Okay. So shall we go through it page by page then? Anything on the first page?
You're just watching the minute secretary working in action there. Sorry.
Sorry about
that. Exciting viewing.
Okay. Anything on the second page? And anything on the third page? And then we've got the priorities at the end as an annex. And before I move the minutes, if there are no questions.
No, there's no hands up at the moment.
Oh, Tina's just pointed out that the spelling of minutes at the beginning was incorrect, so that probably needs to be corrected. We had immuties instead of minutes. Spell checker problem, I expect. Before I ask you to move the minutes, I'd just like to point out that we are down to 3 members on this committee, which is our quorum. So if any of us were off sick, then that might be a problem. We'd have to beg the mayor to come along. So I would ask that other councillors might consider whether they would like to join the cemeteries committee at some time to help us with that issue. And I will move the minutes.
All in agreement?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we come to you, Councillor Crawford. Over to you for the allotment committee.
Thank you, Chair. I'll just check I got my mic on. Oh. Hello?
Loud and clear.
Yeah, you've gone completely off screen. I have trouble with these things.
We can still hear you, Dennis, if you want to.
Joining back. Got it. Okay, thank you very much, Chairman. I'd like to present the minutes for the allotment committee of the 16th of July 2020. So we go to page 1. Page 2. And there's a recommendations there. The first recommendation at 16320 is that Thetford Town Council adopts option 2 from the table, but phases in the increase over 2 years. This is to do with the increase in costs for allotments. So are people in agreement with that?
You need a proposer and a second, Dennis, for that.
Yeah,
Mr. Chairman, Councillor Burnett would propose it.
Thank you, Councillor Burnett.
I will second it. Councillor Canham.
Thank you, Brenda. All those in favour? Oh, sorry, it's the poly system again, isn't it?
On the chat, I'm sorry about this.
That's okay, Chris. Thank you.
Poly system.
Well, I'll have to do the vote again. We'll give it a second.
The cogs are whirring.
Yes.
We're nearly there, Chris.
Yeah, 1 second. You can see it on the screen, I suppose.
Thank you.
It hasn't appeared yet, Chris.
Okay.
Just to explain to any residents that are watching us this evening, this is our first attempt at using a system nicely named called Polly, which helps us with our voting. Now, as you can tell, we're still getting used to Polly. She has nuances.
Mine says cemetery on the vote. Oh no, where are we? Sorry.
Yeah, you're quite right, Chris. That should have allotments on it.
Oh, it's got cemetery there, look.
Yeah.
Yes, but it needs to be allotments.
I do beg your pardon. Did you take that one as agreed, or would you like me to go and do it again?
I think you'll have to do it again, because otherwise anybody watching the video will be confused about what you've actually done the vote on.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It's come out of this screen again.
So any residents watching, in the words of Dennis Norden, it'll be all right on the night.
Well said, Chair. Which night? Yeah. Which night?
I'm sorry about this. I have to come out the main screen, and it takes the time to come out. Sorry
But
about that.
Tina, while we're waiting for Chris to resolve this issue, it would be just as quick to have a show of hands and go around the room so we can move on, because it's quite an interminable time that the public are sitting watching us do nothing. So
Absolutely. So if people would like to do a quick hands up in the chat box for me, and if Councillor Burnett, you could express your views to me, I will make a note of them all. I think that's a yes from Councillor Burnett.
Was.
That's mine.
So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Can I say agreed?
Yes.
Can you get the other thing done? Thank you.
That's 8 agrees in the chat with 2 verbal, so that's 10. That's a majority vote through.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you very much, Chris. You don't need to worry about that Polly vote now.
No, I left it when you said you were going to do it ordinarily. There's another one coming up.
Well,
Yeah,
actually, just before you move on, Councillor Crawford, on this looks remarkably similar to the recommendation that was rejected for them. Am I correct in my assessment, Tina?
Yeah, they all just need to go forward to personnel so they can be collated, and then we're going to present them all at once.
Thank you.
So that we can have a full discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, for that. Yep.
You're welcome.
Again, if on the full council minutes, Chris, there can be a note under this that 16420 is actually being sent to personnel.
Personnel, yeah, it'd be the same as the planning one.
As them.
Yeah.
Thank you. Would you like to continue, Dennis?
Right, yeah, if we move down, following through to the end. Are there any comments to be made on it?
There are no further hands up.
Well, thank you very much.
So I think Councillor Crawford's moving the minutes. All those in favour?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And a final report of the evening over to Councillor James for the Finance Committee. Over to you, Jane.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I beg leave to present the minutes of the virtual meeting of the Finance Committee held on Tuesday, 21st of July. There are a total of 5 recommendations, but you'll be pleased to know that 2 of them are actually set as agenda items 192 and 193 later on this meeting's agenda. So we'll only have 3 of them to go through. And I'll speak really, really slowly so that Chris has a chance to get the first one ready on the poly. So we're on page 1, which is page 52 of the document pack. And the first recommendation is under agenda item 17420. And the recommendation is that Thetford Town Council adopt the income and expenditure reports, which will be on Appendix C that you've all lovingly read, for the 3 months ended the 30th of June 2020. Could I have a proposer and a seconder, please?
Councillor Burnett, proposer.
And the seconder,
I'll
please.
second it.
Thank you, Roy. All those in, oh, sorry, we're using the poly system, aren't we? So, sorry. It's okay.
Note to self, we'll talk slower to aid typing.
When it's typing, it's coming out of the main screen that I'm on, I'm afraid.
Can I jump in while Chris is doing that? Because I shall fill the void, Mr. Mayor, if I may. I'm just curious because I know Councillor James is very astute when it comes to standing orders and the rules. Correct me if I'm wrong, Councillor James, but it's not historic that when you have a recommendation in the minutes from the committee that you then need a proposer and seconder at full council. So I'm a little bit confused as to, I'm just filling the void here, you can tell, but it is bugging me that I don't think it's a requirement for us to have a proposer and seconder, so that's at least something we can do to save a bit of time.
I think you're correct, Councillor Jeremy, but I was following and didn't want people to feel left out from it as we'd adopted a practice already this meeting, but I completely agree with you.
That's fine. I just thought I was maybe going mad.
Yeah, no, absolutely. If that's what council is comfortable with, I don't have a problem with that, and I certainly think things may flow a little easier, shall we say. I don't want to disrespect Polly, but I think it may be a little easier. I think it's particularly when it's virtual, it's one of those things that it may make it easier for the public to keep up with what we're actually doing, because you guys know what you're talking about. So sometimes you forget that maybe other people haven't caught up with what you're talking about, but it's fine by me. I'm more than happy for you not to have to do that.
My only issue with that, Councillor Jeremy could have told us that 10 minutes ago.
There's only 4 votes on the poly at the moment.
Break then.
Councillor Brahim has his hands up.
Roy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just wondering, could we actually vote these recommendations on block, rather than doing each one separately? It comes out of the same report. We've all had it. We've all looked at it. And I would have thought that making life easy, I mean, it's virtual, so we need to help as much as we can. So I just wonder if we could actually, with 2 of them we're going to debate in the rest of the meeting, and the other 3, I would have thought perhaps we could have agreed on block.
Councillor James, are you happy with that proposal, that idea?
It is not my will, it is the will of the councils.
Could I just say...
I'm not going to ask you the poly this one, Chris. I'll be quite happy with thumbs up.
Okay, well, Polly's on there and only 7 people have voted. There's 5 votes to come, please. It's been there for a couple of minutes, 5 minutes.
I am happy, if it helps, Mr. Mayor, to suggest that perhaps we take 17420, which is the adopting of the income and expenditure reports, and 17520, the adoption of the schedule of payments together, if that is okay with everybody who has already voted, because they are next to each other. I would not like to put through a policy as an en masse, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't think that would be fair to this council.
I'd like to support that as well, because I think sometimes it would be appropriate and sometimes it isn't. So, and definitely a policy decision. I think that needs to be a separate item.
So
it sounds like a way forward.
The first 2 is carried, and I'll put another vote up for you.
Thank you.
sparkling. So we'll carry on through the screen. On my pages, it's 52 of 73, and then going on to 53 of 73. The two recommendations at 176 and 177 are the two that I referred to earlier. And then at 17920, the recommendation is that Thetford Town Council adopt the reserving policy, which again you have all lovingly read at Appendix F.
Thank you. You just give us a nudge, Chris, when you're ready to go on that, please. You're done.
Yeah, just filling the void that there is no hands up.
Thank you.
Apart from Councillor James.
I don't think interpretive dance is my thing.
Well, I was going for Mexican wave.
There are other waves available, obviously.
Ollie's on there now.
Thank you very much. So can I invite you all to vote on the recommendation that Thetford Town Council adopt the reserving policy, Appendix F. Many thanks.
Eight. We have 9 votes through. So 10 with yourself, Chair. So I think we're just missing 1 vote. Is that right?
2 probably.
Okay. Is there anyone who hasn't managed to vote who would like to just state their vote?
Councillor Burnett, I think I voted, but I'm not sure if I did it right.
Okay, so well, we have 9, which is a majority vote. Oh, Councillor Graham, yours worked?
Yeah, yes, I know. Yes, it worked. I'm just pointing out that that vote we just took was for 176. We didn't take 175 and 76 together. It doesn't say 179 at the top of the page.
Oh, right, okay.
Which means that we have not just voted on what we're talking about.
Well, that's what I was after. Unfortunately, I lose the screen when I have to work Polly, so I can't actually see what you're talking about. Sorry.
176 and 5 have been voted on in the one. Oh, they didn't. People haven't voted in the one above, is what they're saying.
Yeah.
I think with the problems that we're having with Polly, that perhaps we should go back to hands up in chat for this evening, because it's proving a bit too onerous for us.
Yes.
Would you like to call a revote then, please, Mr. Mayor?
I would indeed, and I apologise to Councillor James that she's have to go through that again.
So, where would you like me to start, Mr. Mayor?
179.
Thank you. That was my impression of Councillor Ryan. I sounded like him then.
Could I just say that we actually need to do 175 and 176?
Okay.
Because that wasn't voted on.
Councillor James, I would suggest, because it's because of the issues we've had with Polly, just for clarity, start from the beginning with your recommendations. Take the 2 that you were going to take on block together, and then the policy recommendation separate.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, on behalf of the Finance Committee, we would like to make the following 2 recommendations: that Thetford Town Council adopt the income and expenditure reports, Appendix C, for the 3 months ended 30th of June 2020, and that the Council adopts the schedule of payments made, which was Appendix D.
All those in favour?
Aye.
Agreed.
Any against?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Thank you. So that's fine. Back to you, Councillor James.
Thank you. So we move on to the recommendation at 179. As I mentioned, the previous ones will be dealt with later. And the recommendation is that Thetford Town Council adopt the reserving policy, which is Appendix F, please.
All those in favour?
Could I have hands up
Agreed.
in the chat?
Agreed.
If if you are able to put your hands up in the chat function, that would really assist the officers.
That's unanimous, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Back to you, Councillor
Continue
James.
with the minutes.
Please.
I'm very grateful to Councillor Jeremy, agreed to the whole of finance minutes and every single recommendation. Thank you very much. So we carry on through there on page 53, page 54, and then there's the appendices that follow, which I am not going to go through. I beg leave to move the minutes.
All those in favour?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Thank you, colleagues.
Sorry, just a second, please.
Councillor Barretto?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Whilst I agree with moving the majority of the recommendations, I would like to make a point to abstain in regards to the reserving policy, please.
Okay, can you recall that, Chris?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before we move on, Mr. Chairman, could I make a general point about committee reports, please?
Please do.
Just a couple of suggestions, please, because I mean, at what we are on 7:47, having adopted minutes and agendas. Just 2 points. One, would it be possible to have our agenda packs in PDF format with a page break after each committee report? That way we can easily work out the different sections of the report, but also maybe a contents page at the front giving the page numbers for the different committees and the appendices. Because from my point of view, scrolling through when they spread across 2 pages or 1 page onto another for a different committee, you've then got to find the appendices. And without being rude, colleagues, I don't think anybody is adequately following what's on our screens at the moment. It's impossible, and I've got a big screen and I'm trying my best. So that's the first point. The second, somebody touched upon earlier about the public following this discussion. The only public document on our website is the agenda for tonight's meeting. None of the minutes from the committees are downloadable on our website, none of the appendices. If that one document, which is all publicly accessible information in theory, is compressed into one PDF, it should be on our website in advance of tonight's meeting so that the public can follow. Nobody's got any idea what we're talking about tonight. And like it or not, the council is sometimes seen as being secretive. We've got nothing to hide, and this would be one further act of demonstrating that. Just a very simple, practical change.
Can I just answer that? As far as I was concerned, that they were put on the website under the agenda and on the news item. That was the request that was made. I'll check while we're going to see why they're on there.
Well, we've had sufficient time for me to have a look through the website tonight, and if they're on there, they've escaped me because I've had a long look through. The agenda for tonight's meeting is there, but it's solely the agenda, no reports and no minutes.
Okay, thank you. I'll check on why that wasn't done.
Chris, there's some good suggestions in there. I'm quite happy to have the conversation with yourself and Tina offline.
Yes.
Just 1 moment, please. So we can move forward. I like the idea of the wider pack being available to the public because I'm very conscious of the fact we're not getting engagement through the public forum, and I would like to encourage that. So, but yeah, good points made, and something we can pick up.
Mr. Mayor, could I just say that Councillor Hodgkinson also has his hand up?
Yes, thank you, Tina.
Yeah, thank you. I would just like to endorse what Terry said about the having the PDFs available, but I would like to have the PDFs separate. I would like separate PDF for each committee report because I find it easier to access it that way rather than scrolling through. And another recommendation I would like to make is that the difficulty with Polly, I think, is because Chris is doing 2 incompatible roles, and I think when we had our training meeting, this was highlighted, but it doesn't seem to have been changed.
Yes, it was. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, well, I'm not blaming you, Chris. It's just that you're being asked to present the documents on screen, and then you have to drop that and then go into Polly to do the Polly. I think 2 different officers need to be doing one on Polly and one on presenting the documents on screen, because otherwise we're going to have these problems.
Guys, I'm very much aware that we still have several items to go through.
Yeah.
Good points made.
Happy to be involved in the further discussion.
I was going to say, anybody's got comments to feed it in, positive and negative, as we're still a few months into working in a very different way, and we are having team issues. You've seen that with Polly tonight, so let's feed that in. But I'm keen to progress the agenda along, and leave it there. That's okay with colleagues. That silence is wonderful. Okay, it moves us on actually to item 18920, which is the Mayor's remarks and reports. So as ever, no different to June, was somewhat restricted in the traditional activities of the mayoral role. But I was pleased on the 4th of July, the Saturday, to join Sam Chapman-Allen, the leader of Breton Council, and Elizabeth Truff, our MP, Secretary of State for International Trade, supporting the Confidence campaign, which saw the eagerly awaited reopening of restaurants, pubs and hair salons. We visited various establishments in the town centre, including the Royal British Legion, the Mulberry and Unique Hair, as they all reopened their doors after the lockdown. The following week, I continued the theme of highlighting the positive aspects of our community, and I met with Andrew Doherty, the General Manager of Tesco Thetford. He explained how he and his staff have been making changes in his store to enhance the shopping experience. The support given throughout COVID to key workers and voluntary groups around the town, enabling specific time slots for deliveries or essential shopping for vulnerable folk. He also shared how the store had given the equivalent of 37,000 meals in the town and the surrounding areas in the previous 12 months, which is a phenomenal achievement. Thursday, the 9th of July, saw the welcome return of Woodgrain Animal Charity. I particularly enjoyed visiting the volunteers here as they reopened for the first time. It was great to catch up with all the volunteers, including young Camille, who's currently doing the Duke of Edinburgh Award through Woodgrain Animal Charity. And the volunteers are both the 2- and 4-legged variety. Thursday, the 23rd of July, was a busy day in which I enjoyed the community bingo at the CBC. Disappointed I didn't even win a single line. However, I enjoyed the meeting the residents who enjoy this activity on a regular basis, and were glad to be back and able to see their friends. It certainly highlighted for me the benefits of social networks and how lockdown has affected well-being for some. Earlier in the day, I met with Danny, the CEO of the CBC, and several attendants, including Sarah Robinhaler from Sarah's Scissors Hair Academy. Now, Sarah actually set up a salon just prior to lockdown. And anyone who knows Sarah, it's like a bottle of pop. She's such a fizzy character. She's very much a people person. And her pride was evident as she outlined her plans to give young people a career path. And she's doing that working alongside Catch 22. The first young students enrolled from September. Friday, I had my sort of first semi-unofficial event outside of the town, which was a catch-up with the new mayor of Attleborough, Councillor Phil Leslie. I'm sure he's going to do great things for Attleborough, and I really look forward to working and sharing cooperative working with him in the future. And then Friday ended on a real high for me. I was invited to join Thetford Horticultural Industrial Scheme, who are based at the Garden Centre. And these are young people who are literally turning their lives around. I found them very open, supportive of each other. It was just a very engaging couple of hours. They helped the wider community undertaking gardening for the elderly and disabled residents of the town. I'm not sure how pleased I am with this one, but I have a further visit plan where I shall join them on a garden project for the day. It's also worth noting the support given by the garden centre itself. They give over a space within their premises, which so easily could have been used commercially. They've allowed the project to run from within their grounds, which shows a great commitment to the wider community. That concludes it for me at this point, colleagues. But I'm going to take the opportunity to invite Councillor Brindle to comment, because I know he's deputised a couple of times this month. Would you like to comment, Mike?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to cough.
That was an engagement.
I think the first one is easily written off. It was a question of watching the change of hands of RAF Lakenheath, but it was done on Facebook, so no further comment necessary. I had intended, however, this last Saturday to attend the Charles Burrell Centre Norfolk Day because of being your representative, colleagues, and because I'm the chair of the board there. But the mayor wasn't able to attend, so Corin and I went as deputy mayor and deputy mayoress, and we stood in the rain and were stunningly cheerful with a large group of people who also stood in the rain. This may have been helped by the fact that Charles Burrell was awarded a prize by the Eastern Daily Press for all the help it's given to people during the lockdown, and the prize was a free mobile bar. This enabled the occasion to go very well, and I need say no more about it.
Thank you, Councillor Brindle. I'm not sure, Tina, if you can see anybody that wishes to make a comment. If not,
no, you'll be relieved to know there's no hands up about your activities.
But there's a first. Moving on to item 190/20, it's to receive reports from town council representatives on other bodies. I shall move through in alphabetical order. Councillor Barretto. Oh, sorry, Councillor Cannon. Sorry, I do apologise. Brenda?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Brenda. Councillor Barretto.
Nothing to declare at the moment, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Chris, Councillor Harvey?
Not from me, thanks.
Thank you. Colin, Councillor Burnett?
No, nothing to report, thank you.
Thank you. Dave, Councillor Hodgkinson?
No, nothing from me, thank you.
Thank you. Dennis, Councillor Crawford?
No, I'm fine, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. James, Councillor James?
Nothing to report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mike, Councillor Brindle?
Nothing further, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Roy, Councillor Brown?
I'm not actually on any outside bodies for the town council.
Thank you. Stuart, Councillor Wright?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to report that we had a meeting of the Thetford Tourism and Heritage Partnership, for which I'm the town council representative, and the mayor was joined us as a representative of Breton Council. We haven't met for a while now, and Oliver Bone, who's the chair, hosted the meeting, and I think it was very productive in that we're going through unlocking. It's unfortunate that Ancient House won't be open too soon. They've got a number of tick-off boxes to do for health and safety regarding coronavirus. Because of the nature of the museum there, they've got a little bit smaller thing to do. The Dad's Army Museum will be opening this Saturday for once a month, but we will be opening on the 15th of August for a special VJ day. We're short of volunteers because a number of our volunteers are unwilling to put themselves at risk, understandable. So we'll be doing once a month for the time being, and then if we get further volunteers, we'll open further. I met with the new manager at the Charles Burrell Museum, who's looking to change things around there. Unfortunately, they're suffering from the lack of volunteers and unlikely to be open in the near future. But as a forum for tourism and heritage, it's very changeable times, and as we come out, it's very useful that Thetford Town Council are now going to get involved through the mayor, and also I believe we'll have some officer presentation as part of it, and we all need to work together to promote Thetford as a tourist destination, and whatever comes of the Thetford branding that is earmarked, and maybe the mayor would like to comment a little further on that. Thank you.
No, because I have nothing fresh to add on previous updates, but thank you for the invite. Councillor Terry, sorry.
Nothing under this one, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to move on swiftly to item 191/20, which is to receive reports from county and district councillors. Chris, Councillor Harvey.
Yes, thank you very much. At the Breton Council meeting, I asked the leader if he could find out for us a bit of information on the bus services being curtailed around the Barnum Cross estate. He said that he would get in touch or had written to Coach Services and we're waiting for a reply. When we hear any more, I will update people. And secondly, I'd really like to congratulate the enforcement officer at Breckland on his teamwork and response to our issues we've been sending him over the last month. It's been awesome, the response. We've never had a reception like this before from Breckland, and there are letters going out to various people and posters people will see soon, but he's doing a cracking job. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. I'm going to move to Councillor James. Jane?
Thank you. At risk of almost sounding like a broken record, I'd like to echo Councillor Harvey's commendation of the councillors at the officers at Breckland. Their enforcement services, particularly in terms of fly tipping, there have been significant number of successful enforcements, and we're incredibly grateful for their time to make our beautiful town even better. Otherwise, nothing further to report.
Thank you, Jane. Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to express a concern that follows up from what Jane was just saying, we are, I'll say we're in negotiation at the moment with Breton Council to try to ensure that the litter bins which run along the river in particular, which have been overcrowded, overfilled, overflowing over the past few months, are either emptied more regularly or there's some other way of progressing the situation. People want to use the litter bins, but they can't because they're full, and that means that the very most beautiful sites in our town are despoiled by litter. So it's a question of watch this space. Thank you.
Thank you. Roy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Everything I think has been covered by the district councillors, which is making my job a lot easier to report. I will say that it's not only Barnum Cross that Coach Services are cutting buses, it's Cloverfields and I think just about everywhere in the town. I know that Sam, the leader of Breckland, has written and is trying to get them to move on, and as I say, it's one of those horrible things. They're a commercial outlet, and they quote their numbers, and we've got to try and promote use before we can do anything else. So we'll keep on that. I'm sure that Councillor Harvey will, and I know I will myself. And that's about it as far as Breckland is concerned. Norfolk, we had our we had a meeting. It went on and on and on. In fact, I think there were several members whose batteries went flat. I wasn't quite sure that I could afford the electricity bill that went on for so long. But it's quite funny because they were they're the last ones to sort of come on board. They are very obviously it's big. There's lots of it. They did get the poly thing sorted out. In fact, not as well as Chris did at the previous meeting. So I think that's something that we do need to have a little look at, so that we can keep that going, because that is a far better way once you iron out the bugs, which I think possibly having two officers might be the answer. As far as county is concerned, they elected a new chair in Keith Kiddy from DIS, and he sends his regards to you as the mayor. And Penny Carpenter also as the vice chair. both of them said that they were looking forward to whether virtual or proper civic meetings becoming something that we can do in the not too distant future. And I may add as well from Linda, Chair of Breckland, has said the same thing, and I must admit I agree. It would be nice if perhaps one day we can actually give the civic role the honour that it deserves, rather than this civic thing. But it is being looked at, and that's about it.
Thank you for that, Roy. And can I just offer my congratulations to both yourself and Linda in the continuation of your roles as Vice Chair and Chair respectively at Breckland.
Thank you very much.
Terry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I actually had a chance today, by some miracle, to write a written report, which I've circulated to Chris in advance. So I'm sure he's probably shocked when he opens that email. I normally do it the day after. But I'll just read from that, if I may, to share with everybody. I think it's important for the public to know that councillors are out and about, attending meetings virtually and everything, even with COVID. So I'll just read from the report. Firstly, County Council, I participated in a virtual meeting of the Corporate Select Committee on the 13th of July and the Corporate Asset Management Strategy Working Group on the 30th of June and also again on the 15th of July. I attended full council of county on the 20th of July and I spoke in the debate about food poverty. This provided me with an opportunity to highlight the work of the Food Out Friday initiative, which I've been involved in. And just before the end of the school term, I was pleased to visit Diamond Academy and pass on £500 worth of vouchers for the school to distribute to local families. Diamond Academy prioritised the support for families that often fall under the radar, and that included families that have previously been in receipt of free school meals but became ineligible by working themselves out of benefits or out of the benefit system, but resting just above it, which meant that they were often more disadvantaged. And the recognition and the support for that was very well received. And then on the 1st of July, I also completed training in relation to corporate parenting, because all county councillors are corporate parents for looked after children and children in care across the county. I submitted written questions to the Cabinet meeting for county on the 6th of July in relation to the former Cosy Carpets building and the ongoing legal dispute about this. Moving on to Breton Council. As a Breton Council rep, I participated in the virtual meeting of the Greater Thetford Partnership Board on the 8th of July, and I also met on a one-to-one basis with the new Greater Thetford Partnership Manager. I spoke about the need to not reinvent the wheel and use existing data, consultants' reports and studies to ensure the board delivers a number of quick wins. I've encouraged the board and the new partnership manager to focus on walking and cycling improvements locally, given the comprehensive walking and cycling reports and the positive messages and funding which is being pledged by the government in this aspect. I also attended the Breton Council Cabinet meeting on the 13th of July, and I spoke in relation to the council's finances and the near £750,000 overspend in the last financial year, primarily in relation to housing and homelessness. And I asked what the longer term plan was to ensure that we didn't have to rely continuously on hotels and B&Bs to house homeless residents. I attended the Breton Council scrutiny meeting on the 16th of July, and I spoke in relation to COVID-19 and the council's response to this and general support for businesses. And I asked that the council do more to support local businesses and requested a future agenda item to look at a local procurement policy to maximise Breckland's buying power and support local businesses. And like others mentioned, I attended Breckland Full Council on the 22nd of July, and I tabled a written question in relation to the Breckland local plan. Currently, no members of the opposition sit on this committee, and only committee members are permitted to speak, which is causing some consternation at Breckland level. And I asked the leader to write to the Secretary of State to ask why Thetford was turned down for government funding, despite it scoring higher in the assessment stage than other areas that were allocated funding. That's the Towns Fund, and there was an article in the EDP about that. And then lastly, I also completed ward walkabouts with Councillor Chris Harvey on the 9th of July, 13th of July and 17th of July. I've got to keep him busy. We currently have 35 pieces of casework submitted, primarily related to street scene issues, fly tipping, broken street furniture, obsolete signage and general maintenance issues. And just as a general point, mainly for the public and also for town councillors too, all county and district meetings are being held virtually and broadcast live, with recordings available to watch at your leisure. And I would encourage people to watch the meetings if you are able, as they are currently far more accessible than they ever have been. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Jeremy. Sorry. Well, we had a plethora of information from everybody there. Has that invited any comments?
None whatsoever, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much, Leader. Then I will move on to the item 192/20, which is the approval of the annual government statement, section 1 of AGAR. I'm looking towards either Councillor James for this, and that smart issue is waiting.
The spidey sense was tingling, Mr. Mayor.
Indeed.
Is Alan with us this evening, our finance officer?
Yes, he is, and Alan has prepared a presentation to assist with these agenda items.
Fantastic.
It's not even through the medium of dance. Shall I hand over to you, Alan, at this point, please?
Thanks, Councillor James. Mr. Mayor and councillors, what I thought I'd quickly do before I ran through these 3 recommendations is to put them into some form of context. We have an annual return called the Annual Governance and Accountability Return, which we summarise as AGAR, and there are certain pieces of paper that have to be approved by the town clerk and the mayor and signed by the town clerk and the mayor. And the purpose of the 2 items, 192/20 and 193/20, is just to table those particular documents so that the mayor and the town clerk can actually have authority to sign it. The third item is there's other financial information that has to be tabled, published. The one is the variance report, which doesn't have to be necessarily approved by council, but it has to be published. And we just thought it appropriate that this goes through the Finance Committee and it comes to the council. The other document that has to be noted by the full council, but not necessarily published, is the internal audit report. So that's the third item on the agenda, which is 194/20, and that's the reason for those particular items. What I'll do quickly is just run through them. This is the whoops. I've been trialing this today. Sometimes it's worked, sometimes it hasn't. Okay, it's not working for me today.
Oh, there you go.
No, it's the actual document should come up, but the annual governance statement was actually distributed this morning. It's made up of a number of questions or assertions where the council have to basically say yes and no. We have gone through that. We've signed everything off as yes, because we have complied with the governance requirements, and that would be a document that would need to be has been approved by the Finance Committee at the last meeting and is now tabled for approval by council at this point in time.
Excuse me, could I just interrupt and say that Councillor James has a hand up?
Yeah, sure.
I didn't want to interrupt you, Alan. I thought it would be quite rude. Alan is correct in his statement that we have reviewed this quite in depth within the Finance Committee, but obviously it is a full council requirement. And you would have also said, I appreciate that the paperwork was late coming out today, and I apologise for that. But you will have actually received this as part of your finance pack in draft form from the finance meeting last week. Carry on, Alan, sorry.
So at this point in time for item 192/20, could I ask the council, through you, Mr. Mayor, to approve the annual governance statement?
I can see. I actually can see Councillor Brindle's hand up.
So I put a poly one up there for you now because I don't need to do the screen, so it's on there.
Okay, Chris. Just
I haven't got that. I haven't
Chris.
got a hand up, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, thank you, Chris. Just to know, I've just had a message from the Tina Clark. Connection's dropped. She's just trying to reconnect to the meeting.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, can I suggest that whilst this has been through committee, and I'm really mindful of what Councillor Jeremy said previously, because these are individual agenda items for full council and the recommendation is the adoption of this, I would rather, for sense of propriety, have a proposer and a seconder for the section 1 of the AGAR, please.
Thank you.
I will propose that. Councillor James and Mr. Mayor.
I will second that. Councillor
Who was the seconder, please?
Councillor
Okay. Can I just remember, because I heard two members speaking. I got Councillor Brain proposing, and I heard two members. If we could refrain from just shouting out, it just helps the meeting run smoother, please. I don't want to curb that enthusiasm, but I do want to help the public enjoy the meeting. So we have a proposer, we have a seconder.
What was the seconder, please, Chair?
I believe it is either Councillor Burnett or Councillor Canham.
Thank you. Thank you.
All those in favour?
Aye.
There is a poly vote going on, so we've got 8 on there plus Councillor.
Chris, I think we've come away from using poly for this evening, given the problems we've had it.
No, I can do it because I'm not controlling the screen now. That's what I said. I have time to do it. Thank you.
Okay.
It's up on the screen now.
Thank you.
It's not on my screen.
It's in the chat box.
Chris, just going forward, just for this evening, we can just stick to one system, and probably the easiest one to do is just the simple hands up from councillors, and then we can iron out the issues with Polly going forward. But just for this evening, let's stick with the hands up so we can just move on swiftly.
Okay. So, I've got 10 votes anyway so far.
Fantastic. Can you give us the breakdown how that vote was, Chris?
Can, yes. So that was, I've got Councillor Crawford, Barretto, Brain, James, Brindle, Harvey, Hodgkinson, Wright, Jeremy and Canham for the vote. There are 2 missing. One of them would be Councillor Burnett.
Yes.
And
Burnett's in favour.
And probably the chair.
Yeah, I haven't voted on the item, Chris, but
That's
yeah, it's carried. It's carried. Thank you, Chris.
Would you like me to do it next time on the next one or no?
No, Chris, I want to stick to tradition.
It only takes a moment.
Sorry, that's probably the clearest direction I've given in a long time. Thank you. Back to you, Alan.
Sorry, I'm going in the wrong direction. It's a night of technology by the sounds of it.
Apologies, Mr. Mayor, for interrupting, but there is Dennis with a hands up in the chat, please.
Thank you. Thank you for your support there, Jane. Dennis.
Well, it was just I voted on the that thing that Chris does, and then you said we had to vote by hands up. I was just voting by hands up, so I voted twice, basically. So, so thank you.
You were counted once, Dennis. So that,
yeah, I only counted once, I'm glad to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt you, Alan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In terms of item 19320, approval of the accounting statement, again, the accounting statement has gone through the Finance Committee at its meeting on the 21st of July, and a recommendation was made that it be approved by the Town Council. As I indicated earlier on, a separate council minute is required to be recorded on the accounting statement, which is the reason for this item. We have to publish a variance report. That too was included in the documentation and the finance minutes. So hopefully councillors have had a chance to have a look at that. We've also had to do a restatement, and that has been previously tabled at not only the Finance Committee meeting on the 21st of July, but that was also tabled at the Finance Committee meeting on the 30th of June. And it's really just a matter again of it's basically asking the same question to approve the accounting statement as recommended by the Finance Committee.
May I have a proposer, please?
Councillor Burnett would like to propose.
Thank you, Councillor Burnett. And a seconder?
Councillor Mike Brindle.
Thank you.
Councillor Brindle, thank you. Okay, a show of hands, please. All those in favour?
I've got 8 so far.
How do I show my hand, Lorena?
If you just raise it to the screen, Colin, I can see you. A thumbs up would be great.
So that's 9 then.
Right, I'm doing the thumbs up too, because
Thank you, Dennis.
I'm just going out of the screen, so.
Okay, I think that's unanimous though.
Yes, there's 10 votes.
Thank you very much. And Alan, thank you very much for the presentation.
There's just one last issue on the internal audit report.
Okay, thank you.
Again, technology. The internal audit report wasn't distributed up until this morning, for which we do apologise. We only received it at 2 minutes past 9. What I thought I'd do is just quickly give you.
Alan, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I'm just going to reference the fact that we've moved to a separate item, which is 19420. Just for members of the public watching, it won't be clear to them.
Great. Sorry, I thought my presentation was actually on the screen.
At the beginning it was, yeah, if you'd like to continue, thank you.
In terms of, just to summarise the report, we've just done a comparison between 2019-20 versus 2018-19. In terms of level 1 findings, which are adverse, in the last 2 years there have been 0. In terms of level 2 findings, which the internal auditors classify as needing improvement, there were 5 this year versus 10 last year. And in terms of level 3 findings, the minor findings, there were 0 this year and there was 1 in the previous year.
Good improvement.
The issues I've just quickly summarised onto this particular slide. They're not fundamental. There were some issues regarding credit card transactions. We've put in place already steps to take this into account. There's been issues around the market cash collection sheets. That's also been addressed. The issue around the VAT, the third bullet point, is in the process of being addressed. Item 4 really and item 5, I think, have emanated more from the COVID situation when we closed the office. So some of the last bits of documentation, the processes didn't work because we didn't have people in the office. But again, steps have been taken to ensure that they don't recur.
I believe we've got a hand up from Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just wanted to say, as a member of the Finance Committee, and I've gone through this quite carefully, very, very pleased with the way that Alan has brought this forward and handled it and explained it. I think a number of councillors who've been involved have made a point about understanding the way that the council's finances work, perhaps for the first time. So all credit to Alan for what he's done to make things simpler and more easy to understand. Thank you.
Thank you.
So the final item, item 19420, is to consider and note the audit report.
Thank you. And I think that's duly considered and noted. All in agreement?
Aye. Agreed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Once again, thank you very much for your presentation. Excellent. Chris, do we have Tina back in the room?
I am back in the room, yes.
Oh, good. Thank you. Item 195/20, the use of the town seal. I'm going to invite you to take centre stage, Tina.
Right. What we use the town seal for is when we mark legal documents such as leases and licenses. And this was to mark the license that we've been given to have access from the car park in White Hart Street to St Peter's to enable disabled access. So we part of our standing orders is that we have to say whenever the seal is used, because there's a book that we have to sign it off and mark it down as a record of the times that the town seal is used.
Okay. Do you have any comments, questions?
Noted.
No, noted. That was a welcome interjection. So that's noted, colleagues. Are you comfortable going forward?
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for that, Tina, and welcome back. Okay, we're now moving on to 196/20, which is community engagement, which is to discuss and agree any consultation on media release required. Does anybody feel we have an item that we'd like to offer out to the wider public, communicate on?
I would just like to say that obviously we'll have to put out the AGAR in accordance with the procedures that will be going out later in the month once we've both signed the paperwork. So that will go out.
Okay, fantastic. I apologise, I can't see you all on my screen. Is there anybody else that wishes to comment?
Councillor Crawford has put his hand up.
Thank you. Dennis.
Yeah. On the communication, public community engagement thing, we've been working really hard to get the rights of access through that gate, and would it be nice to put something out to the town that it's finally happening and that we're helping with access for disabled and everything to go through St. Peter's?
That will actually go through the ALP committee. I think now that we've got the permissions through that, I believe I would have to check with Councillor Jeremy and Ros if she's still in the room. That is something that will be progressed by ALP, and I think that the communication will come from them.
Are you happy with that, Dennis?
Yeah, oh yeah, I'll be happy as long as it gets out to the public. I couldn't care less who puts it out. Thank you.
Thank you. Another clear direction. Thank you, Dennis. Most appreciated. I can't see anybody else that wants to comment on this particular item, so thank you for that. Which moves us on to item 197/20, which is the exclusion of press and public. And that's to consider resolving that pursuant to the Public Bodies Admission to Meetings Act 1960, the press and public be excluded from the remaining items of the business on the grounds that publicity will be prejudicial to the public interest by reason of confidential nature of the business to be discussed. Can I move that, colleagues?
Aye.
Agreed.
Chair, can I stop recording now, please?
Thank you, and I'd just like to wish the